Having frank conversations about finances is important for a relationship to be successful. Everybody kind of knows that. Nearly half of Americans who are married or living with a partner say they argue over money. Who doesn't? So what's the best approach to couples goals? Well, got something figured out for you. We brought in two marriage coaches to help you out. Howard and Danielle Taylor are also the founders of Marriage on Deck, a marriage media ministry. Good morning. Welcome to Start Your Day. Happy to have you with us.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you all for having us.
All right, let's get right into it because, they say money, you argue, but money and sex, two of the main things that couples usually argue about. Let's just be frank about that. But a lot of times when the money's bad, you ain't going to get the sex. So let's start off with the money. How do couples avoid arguing over money so that you can get both?
Well, listen, that's a great question. And we know that divorce statistics suggest that couples who argue about money once a week are 30% more likely to get a divorce. So one of the first things Danielle and I encourage couples to do is to seek alignment. When you think about alignment, we typically see it in the automotive industry. And so what we put in our book is when a car is out of alignment, you feel a lot of trembling. It's not a smooth ride. When a car is out of alignment, you also see a lot of wear on the tires. Similar to marriage. Not being aligned in your finances causes us to have that trembling, that arguing, that stress, that anxiety, and ultimately brings dissension. And so when we can begin to communicate, which is critically effective, about what our alignment and expectations are about marriage, the ride is so much smoother. The wear on the relationship is absolutely less and allows us to go the distance.
Well, Howard, you're speaking my language because I just got a $3,600 bill, something about alignment and something else yesterday. I pushed back and said, you have to give me some discounts on that. That's the car, and I get the analogy. But listen, this pandemic has frustrated people. They're together more. They're doing panic buying a lot of things for more than a year. How has that really accelerated some of the problems financially between couples that you're seeing?
The problems have accelerated because now, like you mentioned, since we are spending more time together, the problems that were under the rug are surfacing. Prior to, we could leave to work all day, kind of avoid our issues, and now it's like we have to stare them in the face. And plus, in the past, some people could hide their purchases, put them in the car, bring them in when the other person's at work. And so if you're not on the same page with your spending or have a shared vision, now the other person is feeling resentful or like, this is not the time to be spending unnecessarily. What are you out there doing and why are you doing it in such a time where people really don't know what tomorrow holds? If they're going to have a job, what's going on with their finances, their children, all types of things are putting people on edge. So the edge of it all, plus being together all the time, is really making tensions higher.
Sometimes people just ain't cut for certain things. Let's just keep it real quick because that New Edition song, Sunny Days, everybody loves them, but baby, can you stand the rain? I got a homeboy, and this is a true story. He just told me when he had a job and he was bringing in money, he and his girl, good to go. Then he lost his job, and all of a sudden, things got tense. She was stressed out all the time. She just didn't want to be around this guy anymore. So just honestly, is that the time that he should cut it off? Does he try and work it out with somebody like that, or is she showing her hand?
Listen, that's good. Oftentimes we sit on the altar and we make these vows that are based off of circumstance. These vows are supposed to say through richer or poor, better or worse. We all know the saying. But oftentimes, because relationships are not founded on whether you know a person through 4 seasons, we call them the 4 seasons of life. You maybe get married or you maybe get in a committed relationship without knowing whether this person can stand the rain. It just exacerbates itself in marriage, right? Marriage makes more of what you already were. And so one of the things for financial literacy and alignment in a relationship is doing that work prior to getting into a committed relationship, understanding whether somebody's going to stick with you for richer or poor. You don't wait till you get on the altar, say that, and then learn it out and practice it out in marriage. Right. Oftentimes, like money makes you more of whatever you are. Marriage can do the same thing. In fairness, we do believe that romance without finance is a nuisance. And so being able to come up with practical ways to navigate finance in marriage is important because it is a stressor. And as you mentioned earlier, Mike, it is a top reason for divorce. So it is fair to help your spouse through the rigors of financial downturn, but we also have to be in it to win. And that comes with alignment, strategy, and vision.
Well, just full disclosure, Howard, Mike, a disclaimer, we only know what him and his buddy talked about. If we talk to the girlfriend, probably some other issues, but we'll leave that alone. That's their personal business. I guess, Danielle, for you, what if we are where we are and you can't get on the same page? Maybe one of you wants to spend on clothes and shoes like Mike, and the other person is a saver like Cynthia maybe. How do you work through having, the different financial priorities as a couple because you came together because you do love each other?
Well, the circumstance that you're explaining was Howard and I when we initially got married. He likes to refer to himself as a free-spirited spender, and I was basically cheap. So we had arguments all the time about him spending things that I felt like, since we had bills to pay, we were young, we had student loans, all these things, every dollar needed, in my mind, every dollar needed to be spent on getting out of debt to become debt-free. But what we've realized over time is to communicate what we were trying to accomplish, to get on the same page with that. Sometimes couples don't communicate that and they just harbor resentment and bitterness in their heart, just staring at the other person, analyzing the bank account every day and not saying anything.
Yeah.
And it's important to just speak up and say, listen, let's have a meeting of the minds. Let's have a business meeting for our home. What is our goals and our plans for the future, and how are we going to get there? Currently, how we are we even going to get there at all? So what changes do we need to make? What compromise do we need to have to get on the same page, to create a budget so that we are spending money how each other pre-agreed to spend the money? So then that helps cut down the arguments, that helps align the boundaries and expectations for how the money is to be spent. We're on the same page for if we're going to get out of debt first and then purchase a home or go on vacation. That takes out all of the confusion. There is to just speak up, and then both people have to be committed to that, because we could talk about it all day, but if we're not disciplined to actually live that out, it's not going to work.
Yeah, all right. Speaking of joint account or bank accounts, as you just mentioned there, Howard and Danielle, since Sharon put all my business out in the street, I did just get married. And, like both of us come in with a certain amount of income or whatnot. And people always say, so are you going to have separate or are you going to have joint accounts? What do you suggest, or what is your opinion when it comes to couples coming together and whether they should have separate or joint banking accounts or not?
Absolutely. We always say there's no cookie cutter template for how couples should manage their money because people are just grossly and vastly different. However, one of the things that my wife loves to say is you do need to make sure you marry your money in some way. Marrying your money for some couples is having joint bank accounts. Marrying your money for others is having vision and purpose for how you're going to utilize the money. I will tell you, in marriage, what we found for couples who are successful that we coach, the ones who are most transparent, the ones who are most forthcoming about their money are the ones that tend to have longer lasting, enjoyable relationships. And so I will tell you, for us in our household, right, it's best that we not just teach it, it's that we also live it.
Right.
We marry our finance in a way that Danielle and I have complete transparency, and for us, that is joint bank accounts, right? For others, it's having vision for their money, and so it's no right or wrong answer to that, but there surely needs to be some level of accountability and transparency with money in marriage.
All right,
16
well, listen,
years strong,
he gave us
still
a lot.
looking good.
Yeah, 16 years strong.
Yes.
Still looking good. They gave us a lot to think about. They look like the picture of happiness, and I've been keeping my eye on her right arm, and it didn't look like she gave you
she
one shot
one
to the
time.
rib. So
Not
this
one.
is real. This is real, folks. Howard and Danielle Taylor, we love you. I hope you come back. Right, we do. Come back to start your day because, yes, we love it, and we could all learn from you all. We're right back.